We finalize Module 2 series with risks. In our guiding metaphor, we can see risks as the wetsuit the surfer wears, seeing risks as a means of protection, preparation, and adaptability. Embracing calculated risks, like wearing a wetsuit, allows you to navigate the unpredictable waters of entrepreneurship with confidence, readiness, and the greater potential for success. Do you know how to choose a wetsuit? How thin or how thick it should be? What is the ideal length so it covers and protects the important parts? What is the right size so it is comfortable enough to wear but also tight enough to isolate the body from the water temperature? What quality of fabric would you choose? Would you put the zipper in the back or in the front? And how would that influence your flexibility? Let's see what makes a good wetsuit and help you decide which one fits best based on how it responds to your needs. In this fourth and final video of Module 2, we're going to cover risk-taking as the wetsuit you need and want to enhance your surfing experience by keeping you warm, comfortable, and agile in the water, all while protecting you from the cold, from the wind and sun, from the rocky sea bottom, and even from sinking when wipeouts occur. We'll start with what is a risk and how to calculate it, moving forward towards how to understand the neuroscience behind psychological risks and safety. Next, we'll be covering what to be aware of when it comes to risks, and close with learning how to apply Walt Disney technique to a risky decision you are faced with. Let's start browsing for a proper wetsuit, shall we? Just as a wetsuit serves as a protective layer against risks in the water, taking calculated risks in entrepreneurship involves being prepared and equipped to navigate challenges. The wetsuit becomes a symbolic reminder of the importance of preparedness, protection, and calculated risk-taking in both the surfing world and the entrepreneurial journey. So how do you define a risk? When we think about risks, we should think about the potential of experiencing negative or undesirable outcomes from an action or decision. It involves venturing into situations where success is not guaranteed, but there is uncertainty about the effects on something we value, like health, well-being, wealth, property, or the environment. Risks refer to the situations of encountering unforeseen challenges or setbacks during the pursuit of goals, in short, of being exposed to the possibility of something bad happening. It demands adaptability and problem-solving skills to overcome obstacles. A risk represents the likelihood of deviation from expected results, introducing variability into outcomes. You may never know for sure what the outcome is when there are risks involved. And somehow, it's normal like that, right? According to the International Organization for Standardization, or ISO, the risk would be defined as a combination of the probability of an event and its consequences. Understanding this interplay allows us to assess and navigate uncertainties effectively. We could also say that a risk embodies the potential trade-off between gains and potential losses in pursuing opportunities. Evaluating risks enables us to weigh potential rewards against associated risks. It is important to take calculated risks for informed decisions. But how do you actually calculate a risk? There is something called the risk priority number, which is a number between 1 and 1000, representing the threat level that should be accounted for when considering a risk. It is formed of three components. First of them is occurrence, as the probability of that scenario to actually happen. How often does it happen? Second is severity, as the impact of that scenario. How bad is it if it happens? And third is detection, as the likelihood to identify that scenario up front before it happens. How likely to spot and stop it. Each of these will be graded from 1 to 10, with high scores if it happens a lot, if it's really bad, and if it's hard to identify. So grades increase for an increase in occurrence and severity, and they decrease for an increase in detection. Or in plain terms, you give a 10 if it happens all the time. You give a 10 if it messes up everything. You give a 1 if you can easily spot it and fix it up front. It's easy to understand that when you choose which risk to focus on, that highest RPN should be in front of the row. When it comes to what it takes to be better at what you do, many people think that you just need to be more resilient, increasing your ability to put up with more and more stress, risks, or feelings of insecurity. But it's not the right way to look at it, because no matter how strong you become in navigating furious waters, if the environment itself isn't improved, at some point you will get tired and will fall off your feet and into the torments. So how do you know if your environment is one which supports psychological safety, from which it encourages building resilience? Let's have a look at the main neuroscientific concepts that will shed some light on this topic. We prepared 6 crisp definitions so you know what is what and why are they important in managing psychological risks and safety. Before going into the 6, let's say that hormones are what is produced by glands and released into the bloodstream to act as long-distance messengers. And neurotransmitters are what is produced by the nervous cells and released into the nervous system to act as short-distance messengers. Now let's dive in. Cortisol is also called the stress hormone because of its connection with reactions to stress. It is a steroid hormone and is produced in the adrenal glands as a response to fear and anxiety in the long-term adaptation. In a working environment, people with high cortisol levels may constantly feel on edge, worried about potential conflicts or criticism, and struggle to focus on their tasks. Adrenaline and noradrenaline are both hormones and neurotransmitters and are produced by adrenal glands and specific nervous cells. They are involved in immediate responses to acute stressors. The amygdala, as the brain's part which processes emotions, makes quick decisions if something is dangerous or not. If it decides it is, it gives a triggering signal to the body to increase adrenaline and noradrenaline levels to prepare for fight or flight reactions. Serotonin is both a hormone and a neurotransmitter. It is produced in the brain and helps with mood regulation, sleep, anxiety, pain perception, and appetite. An unsafe work environment can lead to imbalances in serotonin, causing people to experience mood swings, depression, sleep deprivation, reduced motivation, impaired concentration, memory, and decision-making abilities. Dopamine is also called the feel-good neurotransmitter. It contributes to inducing feelings of satisfaction, motivation, and pleasure as part of the internal reward system. Feeling unsafe or insecure at work can lead to reduced engagement and interest in job tasks. This lack of engagement may be associated with lower dopamine activity in brain regions involved in focus, attention, and interest. Oxytocin is known as the bonding hormone and acts as a neurotransmitter. It plays a crucial role in trust, empathy, and social interactions, influencing emotional intelligence. A hostile workplace can inhibit the release of oxytocin, leading to reduced trust, impaired empathy, and difficulties building strong relationships with colleagues. As a result, people may feel isolated, disconnected from their coworkers, and struggle to collaborate effectively on team projects. Endorphins are neurotransmitters that are naturally produced by the body and help inhibit pain, giving a state of euphoria. They can also be triggered by activities like exercising. They act as natural painkillers. They enhance your mood, they help reduce stress, and play a supporting role with your immune system. In an unsafe work environment, the production and natural release of endorphin in the body can be impacted, affecting people's ability to cope with the challenges they face, potentially leading to burnout or other mental health issues. Now that you know what these chemicals in your body do, maybe you'll also know how to identify faster if an environment is providing psychological safety or is putting you at risk. Is it wrapping you in a cozy and protective suit, or is it sending you to fight beasts barehanded and barefooted? We also thought there are some things you should pay attention to when it comes to risks. Here they are. In 99% of the cases, we focus on the bad risks, not taking into consideration the good ones. We don't want to say that you should do otherwise, but we do want to draw attention to the fact that some positive outcomes could happen as well. You never know when that wetsuit comes in handy, right? If in general you are a risk-averse person, you might end up exaggerating the occurrence or the impact of the scenario, thinking it's going to be worse than it could actually be and feeling overly insecure. You might as well increase your detection levels too much, feeling overly confident about your ability to identify it and stop it beforehand. Even if you are a worldwide expert in planning and risk assessment, despite all that, unforeseen events or challenges can still arise. The reality is that uncertainties and unexpected circumstances are inherent in any decision-making process, so always expect the unexpected. Most of the times, when you are faced with an unexpected twist of events leading to unforeseen consequences, you tend to react fast, like dodging a bullet. But that doesn't necessarily mean you are responding properly to the situation. You may need to take a moment, reclimb on the surfing board, and let your wetsuit as your body armor do its tricks. With all the math in the world, sometimes you can't really beat instinct. You can calculate as much as you want the risks and plan ahead for them. In some situations, your gut feeling is telling you exactly what to prepare for and which one seems more ugly if it happens. And because we know you love structured approaches, we thought of giving you a self-help tool that will be priceless for years to come. You can use it not only to help you with the challenges you face as an entrepreneur, but with any type of challenge. Hence, we bring to you action number 5, how to apply Walt Disney technique to a risky decision. You don't need to grab that pen and paper to write down the questions because there are many of them, but take it as food for thought and answer each one thoroughly in your working journal. We all faced daunting moments of anguish and terror when we didn't know which way to go, how to take into account the good and the bad, what to choose, how to take our first steps towards that choice, and in the end feel relieved, satisfied, and at ease with our choice. We have a tool for you called Walt Disney Technique, which takes you sequentially through 3 rows to help you with all that. It is called Walt Disney not because he invented it, but because it is inspired by Walt Disney's approach to generating ideas, calculating risks, and making decisions. This exercise works better if played with 3 different people. If you don't have them at hand, make it easier to play all 3 roles by yourself by sitting in 3 places at the table. The first role is called the dreamer. In this role, you adopt a visionary and imaginative approach. You brainstorm and generate ideas without limitations, letting your creativity flow freely. The focus is on exploring possibilities and envisioning the ideal outcome. The next role is called the critique, and you analyze and refine the ideas further. You ask critical questions and challenge assumptions to ensure the ideas are well-rounded, viable, and aligned with the overall goals. Ask yourselves what could go wrong and find weak points. The last role is the realist. As a realist, you switch to a practical mindset. You evaluate the ideas generated in the dreaming phase as well as their weak points identified in the critique phase. Then you assess their feasibility, finding solutions to potential challenges based on the resources that would be required for that. You will also find this exercise in your working journal with questions for each of the 3 roles. Make sure not to skip the final questions. What comes out of it? How do you want to go about that risky decisions? What are the key takeaways? We close this module by saying, success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. This quote by Winston Churchill emphasizes the resilience and perseverance required in the face of both success and failure. When taking risks, one may encounter successes that propel them forward or failures that might seem discouraging. However, this quote reminds us that neither success nor failure defines us. Instead, what truly matters is the courage and determination to keep going, to learn from our experiences, and to continue pushing forward despite any obstacles or setbacks. See you in our next video, commencing the 3rd module, where we will be covering developing an entrepreneurial mindset.